Subject: She demanded a ring or an open relationship. I walked away and she lost her mind. Hey, True Story team. First off, I just want to say thank you for everything you do. I've been a quiet listener since early 2023, but your channel's become a weirdly comforting part of my life. You've helped me realize I'm not alone in what I went through, and for the first time in a while, I found the courage to tell my story. My name's Billy. I'm 33 now. I live on the East Coast, work remotely in IT, and like a lot of your listeners, I thought I had something real with someone who ended up betraying my trust. I was in a relationship from 2020 until the end of 2023, and while I want to believe love is still out there, what I went through really shook me. This is only part one of the story. If you think it's a good fit for your channel, I'll send in part two, which dives into the insanity that followed, the ring versus open marriage ultimatum, her stalking behavior, and her threats to sue me for making her homeless after I finally had enough. But for now, let me take you back to where it all started, how we met. I met Michelle in late 2019 at a friend's birthday party, one of those random downtown bar nights where you don't expect much, and then bam, she walked in wearing a hoodie and jeans, but had this presence that made the whole room feel different. She had this half smile, and we locked eyes when I was halfway through a cheap IPA. We started talking, and it was like we had known each other in another life. Same taste in movies, both into hiking, both a little introverted, but with that switch that flips around the right people. We started texting after that night and went on our first date a week later. It wasn't anything crazy, just coffee and a walk, but it felt real, easy. I hadn't felt that kind of connection in years. Things moved pretty fast from there. By February 2020, we were officially together. By April, the pandemic hit hard and we decided to move in together. It felt like the logical next step. The world was shutting down, but we had each other. I remember thinking, if this is what the end of the world looks like, I'm glad it's with her. Life in lockdown. The perfect relationship. I'm not exaggerating when I say our relationship felt perfect at first. We both worked from home. I'd be in the guest room turned office. She'd be at the dining table. We cooked meals together, watched dumb Netflix shows at night, made TikToks for fun, and even got a cat we named Disco. We did those cliche quarantine couple things, but it wasn't forced. It was just us. Michelle was always affectionate. She'd write me notes, send me random memes during work hours, and whenever I was stressed, she'd run a bath for me. I'd do the same, leave snacks by her laptop, rub her shoulders after Zoom meetings, surprise her with her favorite pastries. I genuinely thought I'd found my person. We talked about getting engaged, buying a home one day, maybe moving to the Pacific Northwest. I trusted her. I would have bet my life on her. But then things started to shift, little by little. Red flag #1, the reconnected ex incident. Around late 2021, Michelle mentioned that her ex, let's call him Jordan, had reached out to her just to check in. I didn't think much of it at the time. I'm not the jealous type, and I figured people can stay friends with exes if the boundaries are clear. She showed me the message. Harmless stuff. He was going through a breakup and apparently just wanted to catch up. But what stuck with me was how animated she got whenever she talked about him. Like this glint in her eye, this nostalgia. I chalked it up to old memories, but my gut wasn't sold. A couple of weeks later, I noticed she was on her phone more than usual, smiling at it, typing fast, always angling the screen away when I walked by. I joked about it like, "Who's got you smiling like that?" She'd laugh and say, "Just TikTok, babe." I wanted to believe her. I really did. Red flag #2, the password change. Early 2022, we both updated our phones. I remember asking for the Wi-Fi password at her mom's place, and she opened her notes app. That's when I saw that her phone passcode had changed. Nothing big, right? People change codes all the time. But when I asked her what it was, she paused. Said something like, "Oh, I forget what I set it to. Give me a second." That second never came. She brushed it off, said she'd tell me later. Weeks went by and I let it slide, but it bugged me. We used to have zero problem unlocking each other's phones, not out of suspicion, but convenience. The change was subtle, but it marked the beginning of her closing off, emotionally, digitally, in every way. Red flag #3, the work bestie. Mid 2022, she started talking about a guy from her remote team. Let's call him Darren. At first, it was normal stuff. Darren's hilarious, or Darren made that meeting bearable. But then she started bringing him up all the time. They had inside jokes, shared Spotify playlists, played Wordle together every morning. I'm not kidding. I asked her once, lightly, if she ever felt like it was becoming a little too close. She got defensive, accused me of being insecure and controlling. That stung. I never tried to police her friendships, but something about Darren felt off. She stopped talking about him soon after that conversation, which made me even more suspicious. Red flag #4, it's just flirting. Late 2023. This is where the house of cards collapsed. I was using our shared iPad to queue up a YouTube video, and her iMessages were still synced from earlier in the year. I wasn't snooping, I swear on everything, but a thread with Jordan was open right there, and man, it hit like a brick. They'd been messaging for months, flirty stuff, teasing, throwbacks to their past, even jokes about what might have happened if things were different. She told him she missed their vibe, said he always got her in a way no one else did. But here's the kicker. Based on the messages, they never actually met up. It was emotional cheating, digital flirting, whatever label you want to slap on it. It was betrayal. When I confronted her, she cried. She said it was just fun, said she was never going to act on it, that she was just feeling stuck and wanted validation. That word, validation, keeps echoing in my head even now. She said I didn't do anything wrong, that I was perfect, but she just needed something exciting, like it was a phase or a mental detour. I ended things, packed her stuff, and told her to leave. That's when I found your channel. In that haze of betrayal and insomnia, I was scrolling YouTube, searching stuff like, "My girlfriend cheated but didn't meet up," and True Story popped up. I listened to 3 episodes in a row that night. Man, it felt like the first real breath I took in days. I wasn't alone. The second chance that shouldn't have happened. A few months passed. We stayed out of contact. I was healing, working out, staying busy, and then one day she emailed me. A long, vulnerable message about how sorry she was, how she realized what she lost, how she was in therapy, and finally understood the damage she caused. It hit me in a weak moment. We started talking, slowly. A phone call here, a lunch there. She cried during dinner one night, and I stupidly let her come back. I know what people are thinking. I already knew she crossed the line. But love doesn't always make logical sense. Sometimes it just begs for closure that doesn't exist. Things were different after she moved back in. Colder, more performative. She tried to act like she was better, but it felt like she was just checking boxes, being on good behavior until something better came along. And then came the biggest slap in the face. But I'll save that for part 2. It involves an ultimatum. Marry her or open up the relationship. No joke. That's when I realized this whole thing had been smoke and mirrors. When I finally stood up for myself, she spiraled. I'll talk about the stalking, the fake homeless crying, and the legal threats in the next email. For now, thanks for reading. If this fits your channel, I'd be honored to finish the story. Whether or not it gets shared, just writing this has been a kind of therapy. Thank you for being the channel that lets guys like me speak up and breathe. Sincerely, Billy. Subject, true story. Submission, Billy's wake-up call. Part 2. Hey again, True Story team. Thanks for sticking with me through part one. Just writing it helped me breathe easier. Like I mentioned at the end of that email, this part of the story gets messier and honestly, a little embarrassing. But it's real. And if my experience saves even one guy from repeating my mistakes, then it's worth putting it all out there. So, let me pick up right where we left off. The ultimatum, ring or open relationship. It was mid September 2023 when Michelle hit me with what I now refer to as the dumbest conversation of my life. We were sitting on the couch, not arguing, not even talking about anything deep, just watching some rerun of The Office. And she paused it, turned to me like she was about to announce a pregnancy or something. Instead, she said, "So, have you thought more about marrying me?" Now, to rewind for a second, when we got back together a few months earlier, we did have a talk about the future. She said she wanted to work toward marriage. I didn't make promises, but I said, let's see how things go. I'm open to it if things feel right. But now, she was bringing it up like it was a deadline. Like I was supposed to have an answer by Friday at 5 p.m. I asked her, why are you bringing this up out of nowhere? And that's when she dropped the nuclear bomb. Michelle, because I need clarity. If you don't see yourself marrying me soon, I'd rather we open the relationship. I genuinely thought she was joking. I laughed, actually laughed in her face. I said, that's the wildest leap of logic I've ever heard. But she wasn't smiling. She repeated it. Slower this time, like I didn't understand the first time. Her argument was that we were already technically back together for over 3 months, and she needed a timeline for when she'd be a wife. Otherwise, she deserved the right to explore options. She even called it empowered womanhood. I called it insanity. I asked her if she already had someone in mind, and her silence was the only answer I needed. Reality hits me. I realized something in that moment. This woman never wanted to fix things. She wanted to win. She wanted me to validate her with the ring so she could feel like she beat her own betrayal. But if I hesitated, she'd jump ship again, and probably already had one foot off the boat. I didn't yell. I didn't get emotional. I just stood up, went into the kitchen, and stared out the window for a few minutes. That silence, that was the loudest moment of our relationship. I saw it all clearly now. She followed me, of course, backpedaling. I'm not saying I want an open relationship, just that I don't want to waste time if we're not aligned. She tried to frame it as some mature decision-making process, but it was manipulation, plain and simple. I calmly told her we're done. For real this time. No arguments, no drama. Pack your things. She started crying immediately, said she was just trying to be honest, that men on podcasts talk about not wanting to waste women's time, and now I'm being punished for that. It was a weird attempt at reverse psychology, and I wasn't falling for it, kicking her out. She begged me to reconsider, said she had nowhere to go. And I admit, part of me felt bad. She didn't have family nearby, and the lease was in my name. But I couldn't let that guilt hold me hostage. She'd played her hand, and I had to respect myself enough to fold. I gave her 5 days to get her stuff in order and offered to pay for a moving truck and her first week in a hotel. She agreed at first, calm, mature, even said, I understand, Billy, I messed up. But that peace didn't last. The stalking begins. The day she moved out, she texted me, this doesn't feel real. I love you. Please call me before I do something stupid. I called her, out of concern, and she answered sobbing. Said she was parked outside the apartment complex watching our window, crying in the car. She said she couldn't sleep in the hotel, didn't feel safe, and felt like I abandoned her. I told her that stalking wasn't going to make me change my mind. That just triggered a stream of angry messages. She accused me of being cold, said I had emotionally abandoned her like her father did. Then came the fake concern for Disco, our cat. Is Disco okay? Does she miss me? I miss her like crazy. I can come by to see her if you're not home. That was a hard no. After 2 weeks of constant texts, fake emergencies, and accidental run ins at the local grocery store, even though she never shopped there before, I blocked her number. That's when she started using email. You made me homeless. One of the emails she sent was titled, Legal Notice My Rights. Inside, it was just her ranting about how I forced her into homelessness, that she had tenancy rights because she'd lived with me for over a year, and that she would be seeking compensation for emotional damages. I kid you not. She attached a Word doc with what she called an hard, informal lawsuit draft. It was full of spelling errors and vague legal terms like loss of affection and intentional displacement. I knew it wasn't real, but it shook me. I'd never had someone threaten legal action because I refused to marry them. I forwarded the email to my cousin who works in family law. He laughed and said, Unless you physically threw her out on the street with no warning, she's got nothing. You gave her notice. You even paid for her move out expenses. You're fine. Block her and keep records. So I did. I screenshot every message, every email, every call log, just in case. She showed up at my job. And then came the craziest day of all. I work from home, but once a month I go into the actual office for team meetings. Somehow, she figured out which day I'd be there. I stepped outside during lunch to grab a sandwich and boom, there she was, sitting on a bench across the street. She jumped up like she'd just won the lottery. Billy, oh my God, I knew I'd find you. I froze. People from work were walking nearby. I pulled her aside and said, What are you doing here? She said, I just wanted to talk face to face. You're not responding to anything, and I feel like you owe me that. I told her this was harassment, that she needed to stop. She flipped the script immediately, started crying and yelling, I'm homeless. I'm living out of my car. Is that what you wanted? I was so embarrassed. I walked away, went back inside and texted security just to give them a heads up. Thankfully, she didn't follow me into the building. The final block. After that, I sent her one last email. Short and firm. Michelle, this is the final message I will send you. Your behavior has crossed every boundary of decency. I am not responsible for your housing, your emotional needs, or your choices. If you continue to harass me in person or electronically, I will pursue a restraining order. I wish you peace. Please get help. Billy, that must have hit home, because after that, she finally stopped. Or maybe she just ran out of ways to manipulate me. Either way, it was over. Reflections. Looking back, I see the full picture now. Michelle didn't want me. She wanted security, a fallback plan, a guy she could keep around while exploring what else is out there. She liked the version of me that cooked, paid bills, held her when she cried, but she resented the version of me that held her accountable. There were warning signs all along, but I didn't want to believe them because I wanted the fairy tale. I wanted the love story, but sometimes the love story ends in the first act. That's what your channel gave me, by the way, clarity. I binged your episodes like medicine. Some were crazier than mine, some more subtle, but all of them made me feel seen. I stopped blaming myself. I stopped trying to rewrite history in my head. Where I am now, I'm not going to lie. 2024 was a healing year. I stayed single, focused on work, hit the gym consistently, reconnected with old friends, started hiking again. I even adopted a second cat to keep disco company. Her name's Luna. I also started therapy. Real talk. Probably the best decision I've made since kicking Michelle out. My therapist helped me realize I have a tendency to fix broken people, to overextend in relationships. That's changing now. I'm no longer scared to be alone. I'm learning to love my own company. And guess what? Michelle reached out again in early 2025, a random "hope you're doing okay" email from a burner account. I didn't even open it, just blocked it and moved on. Final thoughts. To anyone listening or watching your channel who might be going through something similar, Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Don't let guilt or manipulation keep you in a relationship where you're not respected. And for the love of God, never accept an open relationship proposal from someone who just got done cheating emotionally. I used to think being a good partner meant always giving second chances. Now I know it means respecting yourself enough to walk away when someone shows you who they really are. Thanks again for reading my story. This channel gave me perspective when I was in the dark. If you think my story can help someone else, use it, share it. And if you ever do a follow-up episode with stories about how guys rebuilt their lives after the storm, hit me up. I've got stories for days. Appreciate you.